To trace the legacy of the Seram Empire across Earthrealm, one must cast aside the Drea chronology and consult the imperial calendar. Broadly denoted as IC, this system is fundamentally severed into two distinct epochs, before Ravan, BR, and after Ravan, AR. The populace of Seram reveres Ravan's ascension to the throne as Year Zero, the true genesis of their history. Dark magic and the Seram. According to the imperial calendar, the year BR 677 marks an epoch-shattering leap for what were once the relatively frail Seram tribes. It was during this era that the Seram unearthed an innate immunity to dark magic. By voluntarily fusing themselves with this sinister energy, they fundamentally transfigured into the formidable Seram individuals recognized today. It is precisely because of this profound, arcane integration that their skin was rendered pitch black, and their eyes took on a perpetually fuming, smoke-like structure. Across the eastern flank of Earthrealm, within the territory charted as Suldun, the Seram waged relentless campaigns against numerous nomadic races to seize the wellsprings of dark magic. Ultimately, they emerged as the sole bloodline spared from becoming casualties of this ominous force. To the Seram, the dark magic was not a curse. It was inviting and utterly submissive. The nomadic clans they battled were ancient races, their existence now completely erased from modern Earthrealm. The catalyst for this total extinction was the macabre assimilation policy orchestrated by the reigning Seram sovereign of that era, Rashadi. The assimilation process, unifying the splintered Seram tribes and consolidating them under a singular standard, Rashadi systematically crushed the resistance of all rival bloodlines through the terrifying might afforded by dark magic. The conflict within the Suldun territory had long ceased to be a mere war for resources. It had devolved into a desperate scramble to escape the wrath of the unified Seram. Rashadi was an idealist, fiercely calculating and utterly ruthless. He took meticulous care to ensnare and subjugate every fleeing adversary rather than slaughtering them outright. The sovereign's ultimate objective was not simply to absorb these captives into the populace for menial labor or aimless torment. Instead, he sought to enact a sinister doctrine they referred to as the harvesting. Recognizing that natural cultural assimilation would far outlast his own mortal lifespan, elite Seram sorcerers, masters of the dark arts, corralled the subjugated races en masse. Through profane, arcane methods, they warped and converted each individual, aggressively stripping away their original identities to forge them into fiercely devoted Seram loyalists. The mechanics of the harvesting. At the core of this process and its intricate machinery lay the terrifying manipulative properties of dark magic. The very same power that had elevated and biologically equipped the Seram could be weaponized to mutate their enslaved adversaries into mirrored reflections of their conquerors. However, while a current of dark magic generally bowed to the will of a Seram sorcerer, allowing them to warp, direct, and harvest the target without annihilating them. The inherent volatility and independent sentience of the magic meant that a portion of the captives were instantaneously incinerated where they stood. Consequently, Rashadi issued a draconian mandate to his spellcasters. They were to unravel every enigma of this dark art and establish absolute, flawless dominion over its unpredictable nature. Achieving this absolute control demanded a harrowing price from the Seram themselves. To pacify the erratic will of the magic during the harvesting, the elite sorcerers were forced to anchor the chaotic energy to their own life force. They effectively turned their own minds into a metaphysical filter, absorbing the magic's chaotic backlash before channeling it safely into the slaves. The initial wave of accidental slave casualties was eventually mitigated to acceptable, minimal margins through this grueling mastery. Yet, the undeniable truth remained. Dark magic was an exceedingly treacherous and capricious entity to toy with, always waiting for a moment of weakness to consume both the master and the puppet. Domination and the imperial vision. This relentless trajectory of enslaving and subsequently ceramizing countless adversaries unlocked the gates to a colossal realm vision. Rashadi and the sovereigns who succeeded him aggressively expanded their borders through ruthless conquest policies. By disrupting the domains of distinct, more formidable races and forcing this dark paradigm upon them, Seram rapidly accelerated on the path toward becoming a true empire. Countless Seram sorcerers were dispatched to scour every shadowed corner across the eastern and western flanks of Earthrealm. Their absolute mandate was to seek out, investigate, and utterly master entirely different, profoundly unpredictable wellsprings of dark magic. For generations, the Seram Empire thrived under this absolute terrifying dominion, their veins brimming with the intoxicating power of the dark arts. However, centuries of unbridled reliance on this sinister energy slowly exacted its inevitable toll. The era of Shah Ravan. The epoch in which Ravan ascended to the throne coincided with a perilous juncture. Seram was slowly being consumed from within by the very dark magic that had forged them. Exhibiting the traits of a profoundly perceptive, cautious, and conscious sovereign, Ravan's inaugural decrees upon taking the crown were to immediately halt all operations of the harvesting and utterly abolish the expeditions seeking new wellsprings of the arcane. Dark magic was not outright banned, but under his rule, the empire would no longer pour its future into this insidious energy. Master Mage Sarek and the Ephemeral Pact. The visionary who first identified this existential threat and brought it before the throne was Master Mage Sarek. According to Sarek's theorems, this dark energy was nothing more than a deceitful, short-term pact. It was a parasitic force that initially expanded at an unstoppable velocity, reached a critical, intoxicating zenith, and then inevitably decayed and expired, a fatal consequence the magic conveniently obscured from its host. The attempt to endlessly overexploit dark magic ensured that once the energy finally faded, it left the host far more restless, withered, and frail than they had ever been before the pact was made. Consequently, during Ravan's reign, the practice of dark magic was strictly relegated to the administration of specialized guilds under the rigorous oversight of Master Mage Sarek. While it remained a tool, it definitively ceased to be a revered pursuit within the imperial courts.